Marvel's vast universe is filled with a wide array of weapons and magical items that play a pivotal role in the narratives of its characters. These artifacts hold immense significance within the Marvel canon. Whether used for heroic deeds or nefarious purposes, these items often serve as catalysts for epic battles and dramatic plot developments. We will explore some of the most iconic and influential weapons and magical items in the Marvel Universe, shedding light on their origins, powers, and impact on the characters and stories they inhabit. Come with me and ask the question. What is?
Mjolnir was forged from Uru in Nidavellir per Odin's request by the dwarves. During Odin's conquests of the Nine Realms, his eldest daughter, Hela, possessed Mjolnir, and with it she helped her father in his battles. Only after Odin imprisoned her in Hel was Mjolnir taken from her. Sometime before his coronation to be the king of Asgard, Mjolnir was given to Thor, as a way to help channel his powers. He showed off with it during his coronation. However, the ceremony was interrupted by a group of frost giants trying to steal the casket of ancient winters from Odin's vault. Thor wanted to go to Jotunheim and show the Asgardians' strength to ensure the frost giants would never trespass in Asgard again. Using the Bifrost Bridge, Thor, Loki, Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 arrived in Jotunheim. After King Laufey mocked him, Thor used the full power of Mjolnir to kill as many frost giants as he could and even killed the frost beast. After the battle against the frost giants, destroying the fragile truce between them and the Asgardians, Odin punished Thor by stripping him of his godly powers. Odin exiled Thor to Earth as a mortal, accompanied by Mjolnir, now protected by an enchantment spoken by Odin so that only a worthy person could wield its power. Both were transported to Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. By the time Mjolnir is in Earth, people have flocked to the site, holding a tailgate party around it while they futilely try to move the object. Even the Watcher informant's truck is destroyed when a length of chain is attached to it. Later, a black SUV arrives on the scene. An O-84 was reported, an object of unknown origin, by S.H.I.E.L.D., which Phil Coulson investigated. When he arrived in New Mexico, he observed a massive crater created by Mjolnir. Coulson then called Nick Fury to inform him that he found it. When Thor discovered Mjolnir's nearby location, he attempted to retrieve it from the facility that S.H.I.E.L.D. quickly constructed around the hammer, but, due to his continued unworthiness, he found himself unable to lift it, and was captured. With the help of Erik Selvig, he was freed and resigned himself to his exile on Earth. Later, Loki, invisible to mortals, came to the facility where he attempted to lift the hammer, but could not. When he seized the throne of Asgard, Loki sent the destroyer down to the Earth in order to kill Lady Sif, the Warriors 3, and Thor. The destroyer attacked and defeated the Asgardian warriors, prompting Thor to sacrifice himself instead. Struck by the destroyer and near death, Thor's sacrifice proved him worthy to wield Mjolnir. The hammer returned to him, restoring his powers and enabling him to defeat the giant automaton. Thor returned to Asgard where he stopped Loki's plan to destroy Jotunheim. To do that, he had to destroy the Rainbow Bridge with Mjolnir. In 2012, when Loki reappeared on Earth, Thor came to capture him. Loki was captured by Iron Man and Captain America, but they were not willing to hand him over to Thor. Thor fought against them, but even Mjolnir was powerless against Captain America's shield. When Thor struck the shield with Mjolnir, it created a huge shockwave that leveled the forest for hundreds of yards, leaving Thor somewhat surprised that the shield had absorbed the blow. While in battle against Hulk, Thor used Mjolnir to knock him off his feet with a well-placed blow to the jaw. When Thor threw Mjolnir, Hulk tried to catch it only to be dragged straight down to the ground. Even with all his strength, Hulk was unable to lift Mjolnir, giving Thor an upper hand in the fight. After joining forces with the Avengers, Thor used Mjolnir to great effect against the Chitauri. It was, however, unable to disarm the Tesseract. On the battlefield, Thor used Mjolnir to throw lightning at the Chitauri portal, bringing down a Leviathan and to simply kill potentially hundreds of Chitauri. In 2013, Thor used Mjolnir against the Marauders during the War of the Nine Realms, notably destroying a Cronin stone man with one hit. That same year, the Dark Elves invaded Asgard and Mjolnir was used to throw lightning at Malekith, burning the right side of his face. Thor attempts to destroy the ether. When dealing with the ether, Mjolnir's lightning managed to shatter it into shards, only for it to reform later. Mjolnir was also no match against the cursed Algrim, who simply deflected it when Thor summoned it to strike him. Mjolnir, however, worked greatly against Malekith on Earth, with Thor being able to deflect many of his newly acquired ether powers. The constant shifting of the fighting between worlds caused Thor and the hammer to become separated, but at the battle's apex, as Malekith unleashed the ether to complete his plan, Thor was able to summon Mjolnir back to his hand and use it to bury the last of Erik Selvig's gravitational devices into Malekith's chest, allowing Jane Foster to transport the Dark Elf warlord to his death on Svartalfheim. Following the end of Malekith's campaign, Thor returned home to Asgard to speak with Odin, unaware that Loki had usurped the throne and was impersonating the All-Father. During their conversation, Thor offered Mjolnir back to Odin, who refused it. Odin then gave his blessing for Thor to relocate to Earth, and Thor, along with Mjolnir, was transported to London using the Bifrost Bridge. Throughout 2014, Thor and Jane Foster pursued a steady relationship in New Mexico with Mjolnir by their side. On Halloween night, Thor asked Mjolnir to protect Foster whenever she was in any trouble. This resulted in Thor enchanting Mjolnir, making Foster worthy of the weapon's powers whenever she needs protection from any mortal danger. Later in 2015, Mjolnir was used by Thor in conjunction with Captain America's shield during their raid on Baron Strucker's Hydra base in Sokovia, with Captain America holding the shield up and Thor hitting the shield with the hammer, causing a shockwave that incapacitated their enemies. Following the battle, the Avengers organized a party at the Avengers Tower to celebrate the recovery of Loki's scepter and the defeat of Wolfgang von Strucker. Some of the Avengers played a game to see if anyone could lift Mjolnir. Only Steve Rogers managed to move the hammer slightly, which momentarily discomforted Thor. In reality, Steve had been deemed worthy by Mjolnir, causing the slight movement, but he chose not to lift the hammer to save Thor embarrassment. However, Thor became suspicious that he was worthy. Running at super speed, Quicksilver saw Mjolnir fly past him as Thor threw it during the battle at the salvage yard. Planning to use it against the Avengers, Quicksilver grabbed the flying hammer, but it dragged him until he released it. Acting on a vision he had received, Thor used Mjolnir to recharge the regeneration cradle containing Ultron's incomplete biological body, resulting in the birth of the Vision. A few moments later, as the Avengers were debating whether they could trust him, the Vision easily lifted Mjolnir and casually handed it to Thor. Since the hammer had judged him worthy, Thor accepted the synthezoid as an ally and, later, advised he be allowed to continue to be entrusted with the Mind Stone. Mjolnir was once again used in conjunction with Captain America's shield to create a combination attack that destroyed many Ultron sentries as the Battle of Sokovia waged. Captain America threw his shield and allowed Thor to hit it with Mjolnir, causing the shield to fly faster as a projectile weapon. Vision uses Mjolnir to hit Ultron. Vision's ability to use the hammer was utilized during the Ultron offensive, who of course was not expecting anyone besides Thor to use it. Vision commented that Mjolnir was terribly well balanced, which Thor said was necessary so that its wielder did not lose momentum on forwarding swings. In 2017, Mjolnir was used by Thor when he was imprisoned in Muspelheim. He summoned his hammer to get free of his shackles and then fought Surtur's army of fire demons using it and dropped it inside the jaw of a large dragon, rendering it temporarily immobile. Upon returning to Asgard, after learning from Surtur that Odin was no longer there, Thor used Mjolnir to threaten the Odin imposter to reveal himself, and as he suspected, he was revealed to be Loki. The two brothers went to Earth to find their father, so in order to hide it from the public, Mjolnir transformed into an umbrella. Thor was aided by Doctor Strange in finding Odin. After the latter located him in Norway, Thor summoned Mjolnir to him, breaking many artifacts of the New York Sanctum in the process. In Norway, before his death, Odin revealed to his sons that they had a sister named Hela who would try to rule Asgard by force after his death. When Hela arrived at their location, Thor threw Mjolnir at her, but she managed to block the attack and hold the hammer with her bare hand. Much to Thor's surprise, Hela shattered the mighty hammer. By 2025, the broken fragments of Mjolnir were made into a tourist attraction in New Asgard. They were placed in a glass containment and were protected by Einherjar, who surrounded the area around it. The fragments were shown on the New Asgard tours. In 2025, Mjolnir called out to Jane Foster, who was currently diagnosed with cancer, on a promise Thor made upon the hammer when he was dating Foster. Once at New Asgard, Foster saw the place where Mjolnir had previously been shattered. When Mjolnir reacted to Foster's presence, she finally held the hammer, and as long as she held it, she became the mighty Thor, donned with Asgardian armor similar to Thor's. She used it to great effect before and during the attack on New Asgard by Gorr and his shadow monsters. Helping to defeat them with Mjolnir now able to separate into many pieces, seemingly the fragments that the hammer was broken into when shattered by Hela, and strike multiple enemies or targets at once. During this time, Thor tried to summon Mjolnir from mighty Thor but was unable to, despite still being worthy to wield the hammer. Later, mighty Thor, along with Thor and Valkyrie, went to confront Gorr and save the Asgardian children. The trio fought to great effect, but Mjolnir briefly separated from mighty Thor when caught by Gorr. The hammer escaped when Thor summoned Stormbreaker, and along with the group they returned to New Asgard. Mighty Thor soon found that prolonged use of Mjolnir was making it harder for her body to fight off the cancer her mortal body was dying from. If she fought for much longer, then she would die, forcing her to temporarily put the hammer down. However, after mighty Thor sensed that Thor was in mortal danger through Mjolnir, she decided to spring into action as the mighty Thor one last time against Gorr. After they defeated him, Foster succumbed to her cancer and died an Asgardian death, leaving Mjolnir behind for Thor. Thor once again retrieved Mjolnir, while he shared Stormbreaker to his adopted daughter, Love, who was able to wield the axe due to her powers from eternity. Love designed a smiley face on Mjolnir, which Thor reluctantly agreed looked better before taking his old hammer into battle once again.